Yo boys, DDB here, and today I'm going to be bringing you my Windwalker guide for the War Within. In this video we're going to be going over a bunch of things like your talents, your hero talents, your rotation, your gearing, your stat priority, and a bunch more. So before we get into this, make sure you guys hit the like and sub button, it does help me out a ton more than you might think. But yeah, let's get into it. So first up we're going to take a look at the general tree for the monk. Most of these will be down to what you want, as a lot of these are going to be utility based, but I'm going to go over some that I think are good picks for you to take. So in the second row, you should be taking Tiger's Lust, as it's going to help out your mobility a bunch, giving you a bunch of move speed increase. Fast Feet is another one, as it's going to increase your damage of both your Rising Sun kick and your Spinning Crane kick. In the third row, we have Calming Presence, which is going to reduce all your damage taken by 3%. The fifth row, we have either Celerity or Chi Torpedo, which will both help out your mobility. We also have Chi Wave and Chi Burst to pick from. This just depends if you're doing more AoE or single target. In the sixth row, we have Improved Touch of Death, allowing us to use our Touch of Death on targets with a 15% health remaining. We also have Ring of Peace on this row, which is a great piece of utility, and you should be taking this in majority of settings. Ferocity of Zuen, which is going to increase our damage by 2%. In the seventh row, we have Fortifying Brew for more survivability, along with Diffuse Magic. White Tiger Statue is going to be on the 8th row, giving us extra damage when pressing Zuen. On the 9th row, we have Martial Instincts for a 2% damage increase for physical damage, alongside 2% more avoidance. Chi Proficiency, which is going to increase our magic damage done by 2% and increase our healing by 2% also. And on the 10th row, we have Flow of Chi and Fatal Touch. As I said, a lot of these things on the tree are going to be situational or even preference based, so make sure you take a look at what you're assigning your points to. Now let's take a look at the actual Windwalker specific tree. Once again, I'm going to be going over some of the key talents here. So in the second row, we have Momentum Boost. This is basically just going to let us scale with haste, so 100% you should pick this. Combat Wisdom is also needed to get to our cooldowns, so you need to take this. It's going to make our Expel Harm passive and let us start the combat encounter, whatever you're doing, with 2 Chi. Ascension is going to help out with our energy regeneration, giving us 20 extra energy also, alongside 1 more Chi point. Teaching of the Monastery is going to cause our Tiger Palm to stack a buff the next time we use our Black Hat Kick or extra times, up to a maximum of 4. And Black Hat Kick will now have a chance to reset the cooldown of your Rising Sun kick. So more Monastery stacks means you have a higher chance of resetting the cooldown of your Rising Sun kick. Below this we have our major cooldown, Storm, Earth and Fire, which actually has 2 charges. But yeah, obviously you should be taking this as it's your major cooldown. Next up we have Hip Combo, which will give us 1% increased damage, up to 5%. Each time we trigger our combo strikes are mastery, which increases our damage of our spells that we cast, as long as it's not the same as the previous one. So basically try not to press the same spell twice in a row. Drinking Horn cover will extend our time that we can stay in our Storm, Earth and Fire. Dance of Chi will give our Chi spenders a chance to make the next spinning crane kick free, and also do 200% extra damage. Ordered Elements will make it so whilst we're in our Storm, Earth and Fire, pressing Rising Sun kick will reduce our Chi spending ability costs by 1 Chi. And Black Hat Kick reduces the cooldown of these affected spells also by 1 second. So this will be things like our Rising Sun Kick and our Fist of Fury. Also pressing Storm, Earth and Fire will give us 2 Chi with this, and reset the cooldown of our Rising Sun Kick. Finally on this row we have a Strike of the Windlord, which is on its own, just does damage, but you'll see later that there's other talents that we can take into it, so it'll do extra things. Firstly would be our Thunder Fist, giving us 4 stacks of the buff that will do extra damage to the target when we're hitting with our melee hits. We can also gain more stacks of this if we're hitting more targets that are in front of us. On this row we have our second major cooldown also, with being Zuen. We'll just do damage on its own, but if we pair this with Invoker's Delight, he will be giving us a 15% haste increase. Next we have Gale Force, another addition to the Strike of the Windlord, making it so targets who hit have a 100% chance to also be hit with extra damage from our spells. Below this we have Communion of the Wind, which will reduce our Strike of the Windlord cooldown further and increase its damage by 100%. Zuen's Battle Gear is next, and this will make our Rising Sun kicks crits reduce the cooldown of your Fist of Fury by 4 seconds, and also after you finish channeling a Fist of Fury, the cast of our Rising Sun kick will have a 40% increased crit chance. Well, Dragapant's an ability that's been around for a while and it's finally back on the menu, so this will just be an AoE spell that you press when your Fist of Fury and your Rising Sun kicks on cooldown, otherwise you won't be able to press it. Below this, however, we have 2 nodes for this, being Knowledge of the Broken Temple, giving us 4 stacks of Teaching in the Monastery upon pressing Whirling Dragon Punch, and increases its damage by 20%. So allow our Teaching in the Monasteries to stack up to 8 times instead of the previous 4. The other node for this will just be when we press our Whirling Dragon Punch, we'll gain a free Dance of Chi-Chi. Finally, Dying Hanko will make it after pressing our Strike of the Windlord. Our next 2 Tiger Palms have a 50% reduced GCD, meaning that we can press them very quickly and we won't have to incur such a long global cooldown. And then also you'll have a chance to gain this effect when pressing your normal damage abilities. Now let's take a look at the new system that was introduced with the War Within, which will be the hero talents. So first we're going to be looking at Shado-Pan. Shado-Pan is going to be mainly passive for the most part, but if you do want to like min-max a lot, there will be some things that you can track that I'll go over. So first note of this will be Flurry Strikes, which will be a passive proc damage that will occur when you're doing your rotation. On the left hand side we'll have Pride of Pandaria, giving our Flurry Strikes a 15% additional damage when they crit. Against all odds, which will make our flies increase agility by 1%, which will stack up to 20 times. So this will be up to 20%. In the middle we have Veteran's Eye, giving us haste when striking the same target, up to a maximum of 10%. Below this is 1 versus many, making a Fist of Fury procs Flurry Strikes more easily, and increase our Fist of Fury damage by 50%. Efficient Training will make our energy spenders, aka our Tiger Palm, do 20% more damage, and every 50 energy spent reduce the cooldown of your Storm Earth and Fire. Right side we have Martial Precision, giving our attacks a 20% increased armor pen effect. Vigilant Watch, which will increase our Blackout Kick crit damage by 20%, increase the damage of our next flurry. Finally, we'll get to the capstone, which is Wisdom of the Wall. This is where stuff starts to get a bit more interesting, so that every 10 flurry strikes that you proc will give you Wisdom of the Wall. This will give you one of 4 effects. First being a 30% increased crit damage effect. Second, a dodge and a crit chance increase by 25% of our versatility. Third is Flurry Strikes, deal additional damage, shadow damage to all targets. And then for the final 4th one, we have 25% additional mastery. So ideally, Wisdom of the Wall, we want to wait for a kind of like a good proc, and once it's popped, then you also pop your cooldowns of this, and then you gain like even more damage. So it's just kind of like stacking damage effects together. But yeah, this can lead to some like serious burst damage that you can do with this if you get the right Wisdom of the Wall, along with like popping your Zuens and your Storm Earth and Fires. For our second hero talent, we have Conduit of the Celestials. This will come with a new ability called a Celestial Conduit, which will send us into like a meditation state, which will have us channeling, dealing a bunch of damage to whatever's around us. It deals a bit more damage depending on if there's more targets around you, but it does split the damage. So on the left side of the tree, we have Temple Training, giving our Fist of Fury a spinning crane kick a 10% increased damage increase. Below that is Heart of the Jade Serpent, which will make it so when consuming 45 chi, it will cause our next strike of the Windlord to call out our Yulon, decreasing the cooldown time of our Rising Sun kick, Fist of Fury, Strike of the Windlord, and Whirling Dragon Punch by 75%. And it will also reduce the channel time of our Fist of Fury by 50%. Middle of this is the Courage of the White Tiger, giving our Tiger Palm a chance to cause Zuen to come out, dealing a bit of damage. And then below that is Strength of the Black Hawk, which will make it so after Zuen does do like a little bit of damage from him proccing, your next 2 Black Hawk kicks refund 2 stacks of your Teaching of the Monastery. And this will also proc your Nizal to spawn, and it'll do like a little bit of AoE damage. On the right side we have Restore Balance, which will give us Rushing Jade Wind to proc when we press our Zuen. You can also get this proc from Fury of Zuen on the Windwalker Monk talents. Below that is Flight of the Red Crane, which will give our Rushing Jade Wind and Spinning Crane Kick a 20% chance to spawn Chi-Ji, increasing our energy regeneration rate by 20% for 6 seconds, and Chi-Ji will also come out and do a little bit of damage to targets. In a Compass, which will switch every time you spawn a different Celestial, giving us either Haste, Crit, Versatility, or Mastery. Finally, for our capstone, we have Unity Within. This will just make it so that when we press our conduit, it'll give us an extra button whilst channeling, or that you'll also automatically press it when you're done channeling. This spell will just call forth all of your Celestials, and they'll spawn at 200% effectiveness. So yeah, this can give us some like absurd damage numbers also when bursting with this hero talent. So now I've explained the 2 hero talents, you'd probably want to know, well, what one's stronger? Well, currently Shado-Pan is beating out Conduit in most situations, and the gap seems to get even further and further when you start gaining gear, as Shado-Pan just really works well off of gaining more gear. The only real thing that Conduit does have going for it is its like burst damage with its new button. When you pair this obviously with your Storm Earth and Fire and your Zuen, etc. But yeah, if you just care about pure strength, just run Shado-Pan. And then also, if you want to know what's like the best for single target for Shado-Pan, this is the tree you should run. And then for Conduit, this is the tree you should run for single target. For AoE, I'm running something like this for both the hero talents. You can put a point in Jade Ignitions over Ordered Elements if you want, but I do feel like Ordered Elements helps out your rotation a lot more, so you might want that instead. Next, we're going to be having a look at gearing. So first, in terms of like weaponry, try to run with whatever's like you can get your hands on that's got the highest item level, as that's generally going to be like the highest DPS gain regardless of stats. But if you do want a weapon to try to look for, it's going to be Void Reaper's Warp Blade. This weapon comes from the new raid and will give your attacks the chance to proc some extra damage. For our trinkets, currently our best in slot are coming from dungeons, with them being Arakara's Sack Brood. This trinket just seems to be doing very well in general for like everyone, but if you like haste even more, then it's doing even better for them. The other trinkets, Scardian Grace, I hope I'm saying that right, probably not, it is what it is, which is a 2-minute cooldown trinket that will pair with your Zuen, and it will increase our mastery by a bunch. So just lean into us having like even more burst when we're pressing our cooldowns. If you want a raid trinket, however, as like a kind of alternative, you can go with Void Reaper's Contact is a good one, which will have a chance to summon a phantom to deal damage to your targets, and this will actually be paired with the weapon that you'd want, because they actually have a set bonus together, which will make it so that whenever Void Reaper's Contact is applied, it just always summons a phantom. For our enchants, this is mainly going to come down to what your character needs, with some enchants giving you things like stats. But as an overview, you want to put things like Authority of the Depths on your weapons, Crystalline Radiance on your chest, Stormbound Armor Kits on your legs, and for your rings you'll want Radiant of Haste. For flasks, we're going to be using Tempered Swiftnesses, which will give us haste. For our potions, we'll be using Tempered Potion. For weapon oils, we'll be using Algeth'ar Mana Oil. Don't worry, this isn't giving us actual mana, this is giving us crit and haste. For food, we'll be using whatever feasts that you can get your hands on, really. And for gems, we'll be using one Cultivating Blasphemite, and fill the rest with whatever you can get your hands on with like haste and versatility gems. Again, though, for a lot of this, it will depend on your character, so you probably want to like sim yourself on raid bots, as everyone's character is just different. For our embellishments, it's sort of like up in the air of what's the best at the moment, but at the moment, at least from what my character's simming, Dust Red Lining is going to be looking like our best bet, giving us more versatility when our health's above 80%. But yeah, you do have to be above that 80% threshold of your health to keep that in mind. For Sparks, I'd highly advise you again to use raid bots for this, as again, every character is going to be different. But for the biggest upgrades, generally it's going to come from your weaponry, as if all your gears are around the same item level. So yeah, definitely try to at least craft a weapon first, like a one-hander. But yeah, use raid bots basically and just see what your character needs, see what the biggest upgrades is. For our stats, it's going to be something like this, with haste being your best stat, into versatility, into crit, and then finally your mastery. Haste is so far our best stat, and we can't really get enough of it, as it's just helping our rotation so much, making it feel a lot faster and a lot more fluid, kind of reducing the amount of downtime that we have. Our tier set this season is going to be quite simple, as it's the first season, so it's kind of to be expected. Our 2-set bonus will make it so our Tiger Palm increases the damage on next ability by 5%, and our 4-set will make it so our other abilities will increase the damage of our Tiger Palm by 25%, stacking up to 6 times. This will go all the way up to 150%. And then Tiger Palm will also deal damage to nearby enemies, making it deal some AoE damage. Final thing to look at will be our rotations. First up, we're going to have a look at the Shado-Pan single target rotation. So I'll put down a clip of me doing this, and I also have a rotation helper so you can see what I'm pressing. So the first thing we do when we're going to enter combat, we'll be using a Tiger Palm into a Rising Sun Kick, followed up by another Tiger Palm. This is where we're going to be popping our cooldowns with Zuen and Storm Earth and Fire. We're using another Rising Sun Kick into a Strike of the Windlord for our Gale Force. So the next part again will be another Tiger Palm to keep our chi up, and then we'll be doing Fist of Fury, followed up by another Rising Sun Kick, From here, once try to press out Rolling Dragon Punch, and then try to get as many Rising Sun Kick and Fist of Fury off as possible. Around this time also, we'll have a lot of our teaching in the monastery stacks, allowing us to pretty much guarantee a Rising Sun Kick reset after your cooldowns kind of fell off. You'll start to like slow down your rotation a lot more, so you have to be really careful with how you spend your chi and energy. I would highly advise you try to keep between like 5 plus chi as much as possible, as if you come into a situation where you have low chi and you can't press the Fist of Fury without breaking your mastery, it will lead to doing a lot less damage. For the second use of Storm Earth and Fire, since we obviously have 2 charges, you'll just be wanting to pair this with either Wisdom of the Wall or your Thunder Fist. This just be so that you can be doing extra damage and again just apply damage buffs together with each other. For extra damage, you can also throw in your Touch of Karma to soak up a bit damage, but I would probably advise to use this defensively as it's going to deal damage regardless. Then obviously when the target's low enough, you can just press your Touch of Death. You can also further increase the damage of this if you pop your Fort Brew, which will increase your total maximum HP, and since Touch of Death scales off your maximum HP, it'll be doing more damage. If you plan on playing Conduit, I will show a small overview of this as well. It's pretty much the same rotation, except from you now have to press your Conduit spell after your Strike of the Windlord. Same principles, try to press as many Rising Sun Kicks and Fist of Fury as possible. The only thing that I will say is like marginally different is you will feel a lot more energy starved sometimes due to Yulon procs, which will accelerate your rotations. Right, anyway, I'll show a clip of me playing Shado-Pan. I'm not going to put a clip of Conduit on this as well, just because, like I say, it's pretty much the same thing and you get the gist of it. Just try to be pressing your Conduit spell just before your Fist of Fury. So I'm going to run in and press my Tiger Palm into my Zuen. Here I'm going to press my Storm Earth and Fire into a Strike of the Windlord. We're then going to be pressing Rising Sun Kick into another Tiger Palm. This is where I'll focus my clones onto a singular target. Make sure that you're not spamming this ability, however, to like activate your clones and then assign them to a single target ASAP. They won't run around and apply Mark of the Crane to multiple nearby targets. So yeah, you just need to make sure that you're pressing 2 buttons that are going to be applying Mark of the Crane. So obviously, like I say, this one was Rising Sun Kick and Tiger Palm, but you can also do this with your Blackout Kick as well. From here on, I press Fist of Fury into another Tiger Palm to ensure I have a decent amount of Chi, followed by a Whirling Dragon Punch, and then your rotation from here just pretty much turns into alternating Spinning Crane Kicks and Tiger Palms. And you'll also be like switching targets for Tiger Palms to try to keep up your Mark of the Crane stacks on as many targets as possible. Obviously, you can only have 5 marks up at the same time, so this is definitely doable. But for the rest of this, you just pretty much press your Fist of Fury on cooldown, and your Blackout Kicks if you've got like too much chi. Like if you've got like a point where you've kind of pressed a Spinning Crane Kick, like a proc of a Dance of Chi at 6, and then you're kind of thinking, well, I can't Tiger Palm now really because it's not going to give me chi. So instead, you just kind of press a Blackout Kick to lose 1 chi, and then you just, well, again, go back to spinning and Tiger Palming. Again, though, you have to be very mindful of your chi, even more on AoE to be honest, because spinning's obviously always costing 2 chi, other than when your Storm Earth and Fire is active and you pressed a Rising Sun Kick once, due to the Order of the Elements talent. So yeah, just try to keep as much chi as possible at all times. Again, 4 to 5 is ideal. But yeah, guys, that was my guide on the Windwalker Monk for the War Within. If you feel like I've missed anything or you have anything to ask, like for further detail, make sure you put a comment down below and I'll try to get back to you ASAP. But as always, if you've liked, again, slap the like button, the sub button, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.